Hello, this is Craig Mertens, Director of Product Education for Inktovo, the parent company of GraphicsFlow, Inksoft, and Printavo. And welcome to our webcast today. I am super excited to be participating in this. Jennifer and I have talked about doing this for ages, and we finally put it together. So I've got Jennifer Cox from NNEP on. Anything you'd like to say about kind of why we did this, Jennifer?
All right. Craig and I have been talking about how important graphics and efficient graphics and dynamic graphics and the ability to produce evolving graphics for a client is so pivotally important to any apparel decorator that if it's garbage in, garbage out, just like with digitizing, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have good graphics, you cannot create good decorated apparel, period. And there are so many people out there struggling in graphic development and design when there are systems out there that really amplify your skills. And being able to bring something like that to our NNEP members is basic for me. I just think it's so important to have an effective solution.
I love that you use the word amplify your skills. And I remember when I first got into the decorated apparel industry as a manufacturer's rep, I started messing around with Adobe, well, it was PageMaker at the time, and Illustrator, and there was a program called TypeStyler, which was pretty amazing little simple graphics program. And I developed a real, appreciation for what a graphic designer does. We had very skilled people working for our company. I think we had at one point 26 full-time graphic designers, so we could put out some really good artwork. But the thing is, we were in the college bookstore business, and so if you're selling decorated apparel in the college bookstores, if you didn't have good graphics, your products didn't sell. And then when you went in to talk to the buyer, what do you think that buyer said, Jennifer? Hey, your stuff, it
just sits here.
It's on sale, and you want to sell me more? So I kind of developed this appreciation for the importance of graphics at a very early stage in my career. And one of the things that's been really fun for me is participating in, a variety of in-person events with NNEP. And that's how Jennifer and I developed our longtime relationship. And then she'd always come over and feed me sweets, which is, that's my groove. So we've talked about this. We finally put it together. And so this class is going to be the first class in a 4-part series. And today's class is going to be pretty much a very basic class, but we're going to get into kind of the fundamentals of graphics. And I always like to weave in, a sales oriented, topic, without a sale, there's no need for graphics. So we're going to talk about prospecting and what you can do with graphics in terms of using as a sales generation tools. And then I'm just going to share my screen and we'll go from there. So what you see on the screen is the presentation that I put together. We're going to be doing some live demoing and such throughout the webcast, but I wanted to kind of talk about the fundamentals first. And the title of this class today here is Maximize Sales by Engaging Your Clients with Graphics. And all things considered equal in our industry, the company that has the more professional graphics capability that can get good, fresh ideas in front of their customers, kind of knock their socks off, so to speak, is going to have an advantage in the marketplace. And so we're going to kind of get into the first part I want to talk about is, where do buyers go to select graphics? And that's, that it's really an interesting, for me, it's a really an interesting question because, before the internet proliferated, where people would go to select their graphics, so they would see things, you'd be out in, the field and you would see somebody wearing a cool shirt, or you're watching a television show or a sporting event, you would see things and being worn by people. And I remember as a child growing up in the decorated apparel industry, my dad was a notorious label flipper. And so he would just walk up to strangers and, usually kids, and they'd just flip their label to see who the manufacturer was. It was just humiliating and embarrassing to me. I think my kids, if I ever did that today, my kids would lose their minds. But, there wasn't this thing called the internet. And as the internet, grew, that's where people really go to get ideas for graphics. And certainly they're seeing them out in the wild, so to speak, on celebrities and athletes, but the internet's where people go. And, the primary research tool for all things graphic related is a web browser, right? So The buyer already has graphics they developed. And when I'm talking to embroiderers, you guys get that, because a good fundamental part of the embroidery industry is what I call logos on stuff. Customer already has their logo, their graphic, they come to you, and in a sense you're operating a little bit like a contract decorator, because they're supplying the artwork. You have to get it digitized, but they're supplying the artwork and you're just simply reproducing what they bring to you, which a lot of times is their logo. And there's pros and cons to that. It's good business if you got it and you can hold on to it, because it can sustain your business. If you have all that repeat business, and say it's a business that has uniforms and they have a lot of employee turnover and they're constantly getting polo shirts and hats done, and you happen to be the supplier for that, that's awesome. You're cashing checks all the time. But again, now you got the internet and people can shop you real quickly, and you get what we call buyer changeover. You get buyer changeover and you get the new savvy buyer, and they have their own vendors. And then you have the brother-in-law syndrome, where they know somebody or they have a relative that's in the business. If you're just doing their logos and putting logos on stuff, it does create a bit of a concentration risk, because they can have anybody do that. And people are obviously really price sensitive about that type of work. The third type of artwork is the decorator must produce a custom graphic. And let's face it, our customers, they don't understand what it takes to create graphics. They don't understand that there's human capital involved, creativity, very skilled, talented people that have to do that. They just see things online and they think that you can somehow magically create something that looks cool out of the ether, so to speak. And then the fourth way that people select graphics is stock designs that can be customized. And I know a little bit about that, because our company, former company, Digital Art Solutions, which became GraphicsFlow, invented the concept of stock artwork for apparel decorators almost 30 years ago. My dad was the grandfather of that technology when we sold our screen printing business and took all the artwork from our screen printing business and decided to scan it and vectorize it and put it on floppy disks and sell it to, at that time, screen printers. That was, became a staple of our industry, but we're the first to do that. And I was kind of proud of that. But it's really evolved to the point where, I look at where we used to sell discs and drives and CDs, and everything became downloads. And now we have a web app you can use on your phone, and you can just go in and grab a stock graphic and change the text and the colors and the clip art and create something real cool and send it over to our customers. So those are the four basic ways that people select artwork. And let's talk about, kind of the pros and cons of those different strategies. When your customer is going online to grab artwork, the sales process is not controlled by the buyer. They're in charge. And so, famous company in our industry, Custom Ink, people go to Custom Ink, they design something themselves, they screen capture it, and they bring it to you. And so then you're in this process of forensically reconstructing the artwork from a screen capture. And not everybody has the skill set to do that. And also there's an expense involved in doing that. And when folks are going to the internet, they're going to find your competitors. Let me give you a real world example of that. My daughter got married a little over a year ago. And when she was picking out her ring, she went to a local jeweler in Portland, and she talked to the jeweler, and he didn't really have the ring that she was looking for, or she didn't really connect with what they had in the store. And the jeweler said, hey, just go online, find something you're looking for, give me a picture, and I can, produce something similar or almost exactly like that. And guess what? She went online and she found exactly what she was looking for, and she ordered from that online company, and she loves her ring. And that was, at her age group, she's 27, that was just like the perfect way of being a consumer. She didn't have to go back into the store. So we're sending people to the internet. There's a risk involved in doing that, which is they can find your competitors and they don't always come back. So I never advise our customers, hey, go online and find something. To me, that's not a good business practice. Also, when people are going online to find artwork, it's guaranteed to not be production ready. So because your customers don't understand the process of getting artwork produced for embroidery or digital heat transfers or sublimation or a vinyl cutter, they're just going to grab graphics and think that you can magically put that on any product with an unlimited number of colors and all these things that you end up having to educate your customers as to, hey, this isn't going to work because, you're not controlling the process. So you're just inheriting artwork and all the other unfortunate events that go along with customer supplied artwork. Copyright issues are always a problem. I see every one of my customers has a different, kind of philosophy, tolerance level for that. I can tell you, as somebody that sells and produces digital art content, we have to make sure that we own copyright or license on anything that we produce or sell, because it's all fun and games until you get the letter. And then I'll talk to other customers and they're out there, reproducing NFL logos, and I just cringe when I hear that. So being responsible about copyrights, knowing where artwork came from. And, I've talked to customers innumerable amounts of times where they've said, hey, this customer came to me with this artwork, but I found out it was from another competitor of mine. And now they're contacting me and saying, hey, why are you using this school graphic that I created? And why are you producing it? Because frankly, the consumer, they don't care. So, copyright issues are always a problem when you have artwork the origin is online, and you have higher art development costs. You need to recreate that graphics into a production ready format. So you either have the skill set to do that, or you're going to have to outsource and have somebody else do it. And there's real world costs involved in doing that, which leads to a longer production cycle because you have to rebuild the graphics. So in my opinion, just customers going and grabbing things online would be my least favorite methodology of having a customer select artwork. That's just my opinion, but maybe you've had a better experience. Customer supplied artwork. So this is kind of what we were talking about. Customer supplied artwork, a lot of times it gets pretty commoditized, and if you're just producing the Sun Valley Health Center's logo, they can get that from anybody. So we want that business. We want to hang on to that business, but it's a tougher thing to do in today's day and age where people can get a price quote real quickly. And now, these direct importing websites like Alibaba, it becomes a little bit challenging. And certainly, I would never, and I know Jennifer feels the same way, you never want to build your business around price. And so it's just hard to skirt that conversation when you're taking the same polo shirt everybody else has, and you're putting a left chest embroidery design on it that's got 7,500 stitches, and they can get that same thing from Land's End. So, the customer supplied artwork, we want that business, but we don't want that to be, that really should be the icing on the cake. It shouldn't be the primary part of your business. It's just nice added business that's reliable, comes to us, pays, a good portion of the overhead. Again, when customers are supplying art, they don't understand what it takes to digitize that artwork to embroidery, the things that just don't work well for embroidery. So you're in a position where you have to obviously educate them and have a little sit down and say, hey, listen, it's a great piece of artwork, but it's not going to work for embroidery. We're going to need to change this. We need to make the text a little bit bigger. Got to get rid of this blended effect here. We can't have this little drop shadow, and just, working with them on that. And again, you have some higher art development costs if you need to rebuild the graphic for your production process. In embroidery, that would be digitizing, but let's say you're getting a heat transfer done, or you're going to do screen printing or something that's set up for sublimation. Somebody's going to have to, recreate that graphic and get it at a resolution or quality level that'll produce a good imprint. So customer supplied artwork is something we want to do, but it does have some pitfalls. Custom art development. So this is where it gets tricky because, again, like I mentioned earlier, our end users, they don't understand what it takes to produce custom art. And custom art development is costly. The graphics that you see on the screen here, this is one of our customers, and they have a very talented in-house graphic design team. They can produce these custom branded logos for their customers, but they can't justify this level of work on small orders because some of these designs, if you look at in the upper right corner, that Mueller's design with the big rig on there, some of these designs have 15, 20 hours of illustration time. So if you're paying a designer $50 an hour and you got $1,000 in development costs, you have to have a pretty big order to do that, unless you're going to get the customer to pay for it. And let's face it, they don't want to. So our customers, they all want this awesome art, but they're generally, in a lot of cases, they're not willing to pay for it. And this client of ours uses our GraphicsFlow system because they can put people into stock designs and a lot of times avoid this custom artwork, specifically on lower minimum order quantity situations, or where there's not a lot of reorder potential, where maybe it's a one-off event and it's one and done type of thing. So custom art development, it's part of our business. It can't be avoided. It can be very profitable if you can recoup your art development costs and you get big orders that produce reorders, but it isn't profitable on small orders. And, I think a lot of times people don't necessarily account for their costs. And one of the things that I'm a huge advocate of is really accounting for the time that you're spending on art development. And certainly if you have an in-house designer or you're utilizing an outsourced team, knowing what your true costs are. Hey, how much time did it spend to produce this, including revisions? Put that into an hourly rate. or a piece rate and say, wow, this graphic actually costs us $300 to produce, and it's a $700 order. I think all of our profit evaporated through the custom art development. And also the delays in productions because you're always going to have revisions. It's rare that a customer will find something on the first revision. And I talk to clients all the time where they said, I did this custom art development for the customer, never went anywhere. And my reply to that is, hey, that's kind of on you. You weren't charging for it. You didn't set an expectation. You didn't really meet their needs on the graphics. Maybe they found somebody else that had something they liked better, and you spent all this time and energy and you've got zero return out of that. So that's kind of a lesson that's hard to learn, but that's where, going in and, really having that conversation up front with the customer and saying, hey, listen, we charge for this kind of development. We get a upfront fee of $150. That's up to 3 hours of custom art development time. After that, we charge $50 an hour. Having that conversation with the customer, I think, is really important. And, that's, again, now you've created friction with the client, because now if you charge for art, what are you going to hear from them? You're going to hear, well, the other guy doesn't charge for the art. Well, maybe the other guy or other company doesn't produce art at the same level as we do. And, that's just always creates, a challenge. Customers don't want to pay for art charges. And I'll talk to clients all the time and they said, hey, listen, it's just how we do it. If you're not willing to pay for the art development, then you're not going to be our customer. We just do it that way. And it's just part of the conversation we have up front with the client and said, hey, this is how we work. Establish that as the ground rules, and the people that are okay with that, which is most people are going to probably be fine with that, then they do it. But if you've already conditioned your clients to never pay art charges, man, it's really hard to go backwards. So the fourth way is customizable stock design. So this is where you control the sales process. You've reduced your art development costs. You've established value for your creative services, so clients can learn to lean on you for ideas. You've made it easier for your clients to buy from you, which shuts off the competition. And in today's day and age, in the current marketplace, in my opinion, it's critically important to make it easy for people to buy from you, because they have so many choices. And if you look at the consumer purchasing habits, so many more people are buying online, and that the majority of that online purchasing, where does it come from? Their cell phone, or maybe their tablet computer. It's not even a regular computer. Also, if you're dealing with a reliable vendor, you have graphics that are already production ready. So they're color separated for screen printing. They're set up so they can easily be translated into embroidery design or an applique or a patch. You don't have to deal with copyright issues. And then you have that reduced production time so you can respond quickly. So for instance, if you're dealing with a local school and they, for some unexpected reason, won a district championship and they're going to state, and we want to do some commemorative shirts, be able to get a couple ideas in front of a customer would be pretty awesome. And doing custom art development on that is going to be a slower process, and you might miss the window of opportunity to sell them. So what I want to talk about next is leveraging retail graphics, because when customers and end users specifically are looking for artwork, and we'll just use the example of schools, team, and sports artwork, they're seeing a lot of that out in the through social media, through television, just being out and about. You go into the mall, you're always seeing people wearing things. So there are trends in retail graphics. So one of the trends that we're seeing right now in retail graphics for in the kind of the sports market is this really classic, clean, simple type look, where it's just not overwhelming. Clean font, clean logo, clean mascot. I don't think that's ever going to go away. But on the other hand, then you see a lot of designs that are kind of leaning into pop culture. If you look at this Philadelphia 76ers design, that's got a little bit of a 1970s pop culture vibe going on there. So staying in tune to the retail trends, it establishes you as a resource to your customer. And it was interesting. I was talking to one of my clients, and she was actually on a webcast of ours. And I was talking to Alice, and I go, what do you do when like a client comes to you and they're like, well, I get it cheaper somewhere else. But she says, hey, listen, then go get it cheaper somewhere else. But you know what you don't get? If you go somewhere else, you don't get my creativity. I'm the one doing the research. I know what's popular. I'm giving you all these fresh ideas. The merch that we do together always looks good, always sells well. And, if you can find another supplier that can provide you with that same level of service for a lower price, good luck. And she said a lot of times, people will go out and test the waters a little bit, and they'll come back and they're like, yeah, you were right. So establishing yourself as a creative resource and staying up to speed on retail graphic trends, I think is really, really smart. And so what we do as a company with our GraphicsFlow platform, we have a very talented group of designers. They're all domestic designers working in the US of A, and they're t-shirt designers. They're not true graphic designers. They're t-shirt designers. They're experienced in the world of decorated apparel, creating designs that emulate retail trends that are going to sell. Back to that college bookstore example I gave yesterday, my kind of litmus test is, hey, would this sell in a retail environment? If it's not going to sell in a retail environment, then we really shouldn't be doing these types of graphics. So, always getting ideas in front of your buyers to show them that you're a creative resource. And to me, that is just one of the smartest things you can do as an apparel decorator, is just get your customers leaning into you because you've got great ideas and you're always getting fresh ideas in front of them. So one of the things that's, I think a little bit tricky, and this is, I think, a comfort level thing for a lot of us, is we all have our, if I was to ask a customer, we all have our kind of pet industries or pet niches and things that we're just, comfortable with, right? And if I was to ask a client a question like, this is pretty funny. I'd be at a trade show and I'd say, let me guess who your customers are. And people kind of lean into me and they're kind of curious how, if I can figure it out. And I said, either the majority or minority part of your business is school, teams, and sports. I'm guessing that you work with some small local businesses. And I imagine that you work with some niche markets. Maybe it's faith-based community, maybe it's equestrian, maybe it's scouting, maybe it's dance or cheer. And they're always like, how did you know that? I go, because that's everybody. It's just a matter of where those kind of percentages shift. So if you're really comfortable in school, teams, and sports, and that's your groove, or maybe you're super comfortable with corporate, that's your groove. Think about it. You're selling to corporate customers. Guess what? They have kids that are involved in school, teams, and sports, and you don't have to compete at that kind of bid level with the schools. You can just grab some of that low hanging fruit because one of your customers that has a car wash franchise, and you talk to them and their kids are involved in a travel soccer team, and you're like, hey, we have a full merchandising program for sports apparel. I'd love to show you what we can do in terms of spirit wear. Let me get a couple ideas in front of you. That's I think a really good, kind of a strategy. And also one of the challenges that we have is certain types of business are seasonal, right? So, there's times of the year that in your business, there might not be a lot going on. And when there's not a lot going on in schools, teams, and sports, that'd be a good time to focus on some niche markets or some corporate markets. Or for instance, when, your corporate business is really cooking along, but that's going to kind of slow down after, January 1. And that would probably be a good idea to kind of start building a pipeline into some other markets. The time to build the pipeline is when you're busy. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but, all of a sudden you're not busy anymore and you have no pipeline and you have no sales. And that's very stressful for a small business. I've experienced that in our business as well. So looking for underserved markets. So what I mean by that is there's certain businesses and markets that are they're high profile. So if you're looking at, we'll just use a high school, for example. If you're looking at average high school, the big high profile, sports are going to be football, basketball, baseball. You've got the marching band, which is the most widely participated activity at most schools. And these are high profile, and it's going to be harder to break into that. But maybe you find a niche with girls volleyball, or maybe the school started a rugby club or a lacrosse club. Sometimes focusing on some of those underserved markets is a great way to get your foot in the door. And also, guess what? It's graphics that lead you into that. If you don't have graphics for lacrosse, you can't sell to the lacrosse team. One of the things that I see, frequently in the marketplace, and this drives me absolutely nuts. So I'm just going to share this with you. It's a little edgy, but it drives me crazy. Now that I've got your attention, ready? Corporate apparel. I'm looking at what we're wearing. Well, I'll show you. Well, the shirt I'm wearing, it's not our logo. It is just a cool patch graphic. We're doing the MBM show in Indy, and what we're doing, and we did this cool patch graphic on the front, and then we did kind of a collegiate graphic, and we used, some Indianapolis, kind of Indiana Pacers colors. We created this very fun graphic, and it was interesting. Our marketing director says, well, why don't we just put the Inctava logo on the front, and then we'll put all three brands on the back. I was like, I talked to my coworker. I said, hey, Morgan, why don't we do these fun graphics instead? Do you think anybody's going to mind? She says, no, I think we should do it. So that's what we did. And this morning I was heat pressing a good portion of the morning with these shirts because it's got a full chest design and a back design on it as well. I'll show you guys the design at the end of the webcast if you stick around for Q&A. But not just limiting yourself to the boring logos, doing graphics that incorporate, themes, have the business name, maybe an element of the trade or the world that they're in. If you're doing a welding company, do a fun patch design and put cross welding torches in it. So something a little bit more fun. So that's a great way to expand and grow your business in corporate by not just doing logos and stuff, but really getting ideas in front of people. And I recorded a nice video. If you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel at GraphicsFlow.com, I recorded a really nice video that kind of gives you the secrets of doing that. So I would suggest going over there. And it's graphics that open up new markets. If you want to sell into the military market, you need to have military-oriented graphics. If you're selling to first responders, you need to have graphics that are, relatable in first responders, the faith-based market, all the church activities and things that are going on. Church graphics aren't praying hands and crosses anymore. It's very sophisticated artwork that is retail-oriented, looking artwork. It's some of the most progressive artwork that you'll see is in the, Christian t-shirt lines, for instance. And there's all kinds of great niches out there. And being able to dive into a niche, you try something, maybe you I have customers that have their like secret little niche they don't want anybody to know about. One of my customers is into competitive darts, and that's like his little niche. I won't tell you where he is, but being able to try a few things, and once you get that niche rolling, that's return business. Family reunions, that's a great one. Let me tell you, if you get the family reunion shirts for our family reunion, which every year has got 200-300 people, that's a nice hit. And my cousin does those shirts every year, and she's a customer of ours, and it's pretty funny. I look at the graphic on the Facebook page, and it's always one of our graphics from GraphicsFlow, and she doesn't really do a lot of extras to it. This is it. We change the colors up a little bit. It's always kind of funny. I kind of, part of me wants to go in and redesign it for her, but she does just fine. But identifying these market niches and make a list. One of the things I always suggest to clients is, hey, listen, there's people in your community that are maybe going to be a reach to sell, right? They're, big corporate organization. Maybe, you're in Iowa and you're dealing with, John Deere's in your backyard. Well, guess what? John Deere also buys from local vendors when they need something on a quick little turnaround. They also buy from local vendors. And the reason I know that is I have a client that's in the hometown of John Deere and got into John Deere because they needed a local vendor for a quick turnaround. And now they do a really nice program with them. And the point being is, aim high, put a list of, businesses in your community, organizations within your community, schools, teams, sports within your community, and, spend a little bit of time, on their Instagram, on their Facebook, seeing what's going on. LinkedIn's a great resource to get, names of people to reach out to and do a little bit of prospecting. And frankly, social media is the best way to improve your reach. And one of the things that, for me personally, because I'm involved in social media all day long. So producing content and videos, Instagram reels, and, we have a really great team. So I'm part of the content development team. So what we do with our Instagram is we showcase what we're doing. So people have a really clear idea of what our company's all about. And we use a lot of visuals. And if you want to really see the perfect website for Instagram, go to All Star Cheerbling and see what it says, allstarcheerbling.com. And then you can link over to Jill's Instagram page. She's got 16,000 followers. She does zero advertising. She's built this incredibly successful business just off her Instagram. So in the days of when I talked to folks in the embroidery business or general apparel decorators, even folks working out of their homes, and they said, I don't do social media. I don't do Facebook. I don't do Instagram. If you don't do Facebook or Instagram, people aren't going to find you. And who they're going to find is your local competitors that are doing Facebook and Instagram. And one of the biggest resources that's available to you, and I'm going to give you all a homework assignment, Google, most of you are embroiderers, Google your hometown and embroidery. Just pump that Google in. And if you're not showing up in the top 5 of the Google search there, nobody's finding you. And it's not hard for you to, honestly, it's not hard for you to get better results through Google, because all you got to do is get all your friends, doing 5-star reviews of you, putting customer testimonials to your Google page. You got to claim your Google business listing, and then you want to get a photo of your business, and better yet, your logo and your URL to your website. But that's the greatest form of advertising. And one of the things that I do, I collect baseball cards, and there's a brand new local card shop that opened up 5 minutes from my house, which is, for me, is like a dream come true, because we haven't had a card shop here for a long time, and it's a place for us nerds go in and talk baseball cards. And so I was in talking to the owner, Noah, and I said, how you guys doing on Google SEO? And then he goes, here, look over here. And he has a QR code on his counter, and he does a little drawing. So anybody that goes and reviews him on Google, they will, he enters them into a drawing, and it's just a QR code. They scan it, they go and review him on Google, and he's got 5-star reviews. He's got like 150 5-star reviews. I was like, holy smokes. And he shows up as the #1 card shop in the Phoenix metro area. Can you imagine? And he's only been in business for 3 months because he got his act together on SEO. And when you guys get the handout, I want you to go to read this little article on build an EEAT strategy for local SEO, because this is going to tell you exactly how to do it with Google. So the most important one right now is Instagram and Facebook to a lesser degree. But if you set up your Instagram, you should have your Instagram set up so it links to Facebook, because they're both owned by Meta. And what you can do is you can have it automatically post to Facebook anytime you post on Instagram. And you can start doing reels. A reel is vertically formatted, so it looks like, your phone screen, just a quick little minute and 30-second little video. If you want to see what reels look like, go to the GraphicsFlow.com, and you can see what our Instagram reels look like. And then a YouTube short is just an Instagram reel, but it's limited to a minute. And YouTube shorts, this is YouTube's way of trying to get in the reel business. So, leveraging social media, because this, especially younger buyers, this is where they go for when they select a vendor. They want to see what your social media presence looks like. If you don't pass the social media test, they're not going to even remotely think about doing business with you. And this is honestly more important than your webpage, because this is how people find you. So, get your social media strategy put together. And there's such a wonderful wealth of information on the internet about how to effectively market using Instagram and Facebook, and, get your, local Google search set up so people are able to find you in your local community. And, one of the things that's my favorite things to do is because I do this with you guys, I'll be talking to a client and says, hey, let's Google you and your community to see where you show up. And it's great when somebody shows up like #1 and they're 5-star. It's like, pat yourself on the back, because that's valuable. And when you go to sell your business, guess what? That's part of the equity you have when you sell your business. But then on the other hand, people don't show up at all. I'm like, we got some work to do. So what I'm going to do next is we're going to actually get into it, and I'm going to show you how we would go about doing a marketing campaign, identifying the decision maker. I think LinkedIn is a really good resource for doing that. If you're dealing with schools, teams, and sports, just going on the website for the district. All of the faculty advisors and parent advisors, they'll all be linked there. They'll have their emails or a direct link to a form where you can connect with them. We're going to show you how to curate a collection of graphics that kind of connects with the buyer, and then put together a simple, straightforward email with a follow-up sequence, letting people, it's like fishing, the more lines you have in the water, the more likely you are to catch a fish. And if you do use some different lures, then you can kind of optimize that to, find out what works, and then do more of what works and less of what doesn't. So, and there's no substitute for a phone call. In today's day, I'm kind of old school. I had a customer service issue came in today from an email, and I was like, I'm not going to write a War and Peace response to this email. I just picked up the phone and called the customer, and we had a great conversation, and we solved the problem. And I have to do a 27 back and forth, 27 email messages back and forth with a thread that's, you got to scroll through for 5 minutes. So phone calls are great. And even if the phone call is just to leave a message and say, hey, listen, my name is Craig. I'm a local business here. We have a full service graphics department. I'm going to send you an email with some ideas and things that we do graphically. If you'd like to meet with me, my meeting link is in that email. Just click on my Calendly link to book me. Dropping by a sample. And follow-up is the key. You have to make sure that, you can't just fire and forget. If you're going to do a marketing campaign especially to businesses and schools and entities within your community, you do have to follow up. You can't just fire it off and let it go away. So we're going to kind of boogie out of the slideshow here. And what you guys see now is I am logged into my GraphicsFlow account. And GraphicsFlow is a web app. So some of you probably knew us back when we were Digital Art Solutions. I owned the company Digital Art Solutions along with my sister, Nicole. We sold the company to Inksoft Corporation. Inksoft rebranded the company as GraphicsFlow, and we moved everything to the cloud. And it's pretty amazing. I think of what we're doing today versus kind of the old school days, and it's just so much simpler and easier, and it's a better experience for our customers. And since then, we became part of the Inkavo family of brands, which includes GraphicsFlow, which includes Printavo, which is shop management, and Inksoft, which is e-commerce. So I'm in my GraphicsFlow account, and the first thing I'm going to see is what we call design ideas. Design ideas are templates. They're interactive. It's super easy to go in and make changes and edits to these designs. Every one of these designs is editable, and you have, that is a real word I checked. You have the ability to download these files into Adobe Illustrator with live text and edit the designs there. You have the ability to download them into CorelDRAW, do the same thing, but you also have the ability to edit all these files in the app. And so one of the things that we're very well known for is what's called production-ready clip art. And when I mean production-ready, meaning it can go to a vinyl cutter without any preparation. It's color separated for screen printing. It's color corrected for sublimation or digital printing or direct-to-film transfer process. And so sometimes you just need a cool tiger mascot, and you type in tiger, you're going to have not only a cool tiger mascot, but if you want to go and edit this tiger, and maybe you want to see what it looks like in a different color combination before you download it, you can do that. You can just go in here and say, hey, listen, let's change this to kind of like a navy blue and see what that would look like in navy. And we'll hit apply there. And then let's change this to more of a, a little bit more of a, orange. And then now I download it, I've already pre-colored it. And we're doing that right in the cloud. And what's interesting about this is you can do this on your phone or tablet, your Windows or Mac. And the old days of Digital Art Solutions, everything was Windows and CorelDRAW. Now it's the whole world is opened up, and we have clients that use our system with Canva and Inkscape and Affinity Designer because we can output a vector file that can go into literally any platform. So clip art, I'm going to discard my changes here. And then you have what's called fonts. And so we've been producing fonts for the decorated apparel industry for a very, very long time. And these are fonts that are specific. You can use them for anything, but they're specific for decorated apparel. And one of the kind of trends, and if you're kind of following what's going on, these, I call them Ray Dunn fonts, but these handwritten scripty fonts are really popular, and in both embroidery and a heat press vinyl, just simple slogans saying, oftentimes not even with any clip art. We just introduced, I think, 135 of these. And if you go and buy these on Etsy, I think they're around $15 a piece. So we're always coming up with new fonts. A lot of the classic collegiate fonts that you'll see in the pro sports teams, like our script fonts and such, our game day collegiate font. Those are going to be fonts that are going to be very familiar to you. Now, there's all these fun scripty fonts that we did, which is kind of awesome. So we always joke around when you sign. There was the classic Cooper 1970s font, and there it is in an applique stitch. So we always joke around that when you sign up for GraphicsFlow, your sign-up bonus is 560 fonts because you download the master font set, you install it, and now all of a sudden you have 550 fonts to use in all your graphics programs. So, which is kind of awesome. So what I would typically do if I was doing a prospecting campaign to a client, first thing I would do is I'd come up with a graphic and I would localize it to that customer. And then once I localize it to that customer, then I'm going to add some other graphics either from my system or graphics that maybe don't have their customer's name, but I'm putting together a showcase. I want to get that showcase in front of my customers. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to design something up real quick, and we'll grab a graphic and we'll kind of localize it, get it looking really awesome. And we'll do something, I'll do a school related design. So I can either just scroll through designs. There's a lot of designs to scroll through. There's 6,943, or I can go to a category. So if I was wanting to go to, possibly, say first responders, I'd go over to first responders and say, hey, let's take a look at all first responder graphics. But what I want to do is I want to do kind of a baseball design. So I could just go over here and search baseball and look there. But you know what? I want to dig a little deeper because I'm also going to look at softball, and maybe I connect with a design that's related to softball. And let's see. And I'll just pick this one right here. It's a nice, classic, clean, timeless design. And I'm just going to modify it real quick. I don't have to bring this into Corel. Don't have to bring it into Illustrator. I just go over here and hit Customize. And I'm editing on the native vector file. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm editing on the file that was created in CorelDRAW, and it also has a version of it that's created in Illustrator. I'm editing on that native design. And so one of the advantages of that is all the tools and functionalities of a Corel or Adobe Illustrator are available to me in a web-based app. And so you'll see like some of the online designer applications, they're using a open source SVG engine. That's why things are pretty simple. We don't have really any limits. And so in this design right here, I'm just going to change 20XX to 2023, just hit enter. It'll live change on screen. I'm going to change eagles to cougars. It's a 2-layer effect with outlines on it. And so we have to change both layers. And I'm going to change softball to baseball. Go over here, change that to baseball. And that's got a white drop shadow on it. So we're going to change the drop shadow layer as well. Enter. And then we need to take that funny looking eagle that's not a cougar. And we need to put a cougar in there. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to click on the little edit button where the eagle is. And I'm just going to type in cougar. And that's where having all that great clip art is going to be handy. So I'm just going to say replace clip art. And I'm going to type in cougar. And we'll find one that we like. So, you know, if you're doing like an elementary school and you wanted to do a cutesy little kids looking, you know, type of cougar, you could do that. But I want to do something a little bit more classic. So we're going to use this one. And once I get it in there, I'm going to hit apply. And this is just a kind of a pro tip. Before you go back to the template, edit the clip art colors here because you can merge these colors up. So right now you have this kind of deep brown color in here. I'm just going to match that to the burgundy that's in the design. I'm going to hit apply. And then where these two colors are right here, I'm just going to make them white. Because I've tried this design with the gold for the interior of the cougar and it's just too much. So, and it's just super easy to, you know, make color changes. And, you know, if you want to make that just a little bit bigger, you know, we'll make the cougar a little bit bigger. And then we'll take the cougar and move the cougar over and maybe nudge it up a little bit. You have all the ability to do this. And so one of the questions that people ask is like, well, why can't I go and grab things and start moving them around? Because we're actually operating this on a graphics server. So that's why you have all the full capabilities of CorelDRAW and Adobe Illustrators, because we are editing on that native file on a graphics server, and we're just updating the previews. And let's move it up just a tiny little bit. I think that'll be good. So once we get this exactly where we want it, what we're going to do is just click on View All Layers, and this is where I'm going to localize the color. So right now, the color scheme that I have is this kind of Boston College, old gold, burgundy, and white. And so the school colors for Central Cougars might be kind of traditional red and navy. And so I've got a lot of latitude in terms of editing. So if I come over here to this file and I click on that Cougars layer, I might go over that Cougars layer and I might change the color for that interior layer right here. I might change that to the outline color. I might change that to navy. But I think what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to come over here and I think I'm going to change this outline color right here. I'm going to change that to navy. So we're going to make that navy right there. We'll apply that. And then where the white is on the other layer, right here, what I'm going to do on that one, I think I'm going to change the white to red. So we'll go and just make that red. You know, whether we love it or we'll hate it. And then going back over to this one, I think I'm going to change the kind of the outline color. That's, let's see here, outline color, which is, that's navy. You don't have an outline there. Oh, it's burgundy. Let's make that white. And that's kind of the reverse of the, yeah, that's perfect. That's kind of the reverse of the classic collegiate color. So I can individually go in and change colors, but notice one of the things that you're going to see is those colors are now in my design. So if I come down here and maybe I want to change all of this to the blue, we can go and change that all to blue, hit apply. Change all of the gold to red. So we're actually consolidating colors now, getting fewer colors. And then on this, I think I'm just going to make that white. We don't really need that detail there. So we'll just make that white. And there you go. Got a really nice looking graphic. And the cougar could do the theoretically put the cougar in red, but I think it looks good just the way it is. So we've got this file colored. This is ready to go. This is a production ready file. If I was sending this off to get a transfer made by, say, somebody like Supercolor, I can send a PDF file and they can just go straight to transfers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the design and I'm going to save it in my GraphicsFlow account, because GraphicsFlow is a place where you can store your art, and it'll create previews of all your graphics files, including Illustrator files and SVG files and Photoshop files and CorelDRAW files and DST embroidery files. I'll actually create a preview of a DST embroidery file. So I'm going to go ahead and save this over here, and we'll just call this Cougars Baseball. We'll call it 06, and we'll save it. And this is how I'm going to get it in front of the customer. You ready? Now, I could download a production file right here. So I could download the CDR file if I want to do more editing in Corel, or a PDF file if I wanted to do editing in Illustrator or Photoshop or Affinity Designer, or I just wanted to download a production file to send off to my transfer vendor. Could do that. But I'm going to add this to an art approval, and I'm going to create a new art approval, and we're going to call this Central Cougars Baseball Ideas. I'll work. And then we're just going to add that file in there. And so this created an art approval. And an art approval, think of it as like a product showcase. This is probably the best way to look at it. So this is where I can showcase some products. This is what I'm going to send out to the customer to get some ideas in front of them. So the first idea is personalized to them. Now, I might have already done some other ideas. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change the background color in here. So we're going to go in here and change this background color to maybe like, looks good and gray. And let's get a couple other ideas in there. So where do those come from? Well, number one, I might have files that I've already uploaded to the system. So under my art, I might have a folder where I have some back to school designs that are already kind of connected and maybe a different color variation, or here's a softball design with this kind of a different color variation. So we can add that one. So this is coming from my art that I uploaded, and I'm going to flip the switch here on this one. I'm going to put this one on top, and I'm going to change the background color here. I'll just put this one on white. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some just additional designs from GraphicsFlow, and we're going to add those in there too. So I'll just go over here and go, hey, let's add some stock designs in here. And I'll just do a quickie little search for baseball. And I don't have to modify these to the particular client. Don't have to. We just put some fun baseball designs in here, maybe like another 3 or 4, kind of sticking to that kind of classic type of a theme here. We'll do that. So I've just added these designs. So now these designs are in the showcase. And then once these designs are in the showcase, let's move these two up to the top. Then I would probably go in and change the background colors on all of these. So, again, I can go in here and change the background colors, maybe more like a athletic gray, but you guys kind of get the idea. So how do I get this in front of the customer? That's in terms of this prospecting campaign we're doing. Number one, I need to have like a little draft email, explains what we do. If you're a local business, make sure they know you're local, make sure they know that, you're, a creative resource to them, that you have fast turnaround time, that your pricing is competitive. And so what I can do now is I can go and grab this sharing link, and I just invite collaborators, and I can either use our email system in GraphicsFlow and just fire it out through our system, but better than that, you can grab a shareable link and put it into your own email. And here's the thing, if you were trying to get this set of ideas in front of a whole bunch of different buyers, you can use a view only link and they can't see each other's comments. It's just could say, hey, these are first responder designs, and I sent them to all the locals in a 40-mile radius of my community. So that would be a view only link. But what we're going to do is a commenting link. So commenting means that the buyer can interact. They can fire a comment. I get an email notification. There's a comment. I click on the link, goes to the showcase, says, hey, this is the comment. I can reply right in the showcase. And if this is for final approval, I would do a comment and approval link. So I'll just say, can comment, and I'll copy the link right here. And then I would put that in an email. And for those of you that are on the live webcast, I'll put that link in the chat, and you guys can go in and look at that page and you can make comments. So it's always fun. People put some pretty funny things in there. So that's how we get this idea in front of our customer. And you could take it an extra step further. You could do virtual samples and put them in there. But I'm just trying to get the customer hooked on the artwork at this point. That's what I'm doing. I want to get them hooked on the artwork. I don't want to start talking about price. I don't want to talk about product yet. I just want them to connect with the artwork. Then we'll start talking about price and product. Because if I leave with price and product, then I'm immediately price shopped, immediately. So the other thing we can do is if we want to be, a little bit more self-service, what we could do is we could send them to our art portal. So in GraphicsFlow, you have what's called an art portal. And that art portal, I'll go to my art portal here real quick, is a web page that we customize. We can put categories of designs and clip art and fonts in there. We can add sublinks with little showcases. You can link your Facebook page in there. You can set up your color scheme in there, have your logo, and your portal looks like this. And so now you have an end user experience where your customers can go to your website and they can select a design and submit it for customization. So if we had an end user come over here and say, hey, I really love this senior design here, they can put notes in here and say, can you change this to cougars? Navy and red, 2023, why not? So once they select that and they add it, they can submit this design request. Let's see right there. And then I get a little email, says there's a design request. They get a little email and a little pop-up says, hey, you've submitted this design. I go into my GraphicsFlow account. And I'm like, hey, what's going on here? Design requests. Hey, new design request. Let's assign that to an artist. Put some notes in there. What do they want? Okay, can you change this to navy? Hey, that's easy enough. So you go over here to customize. You make your changes. You bounce it back to them as an art approval. Remember what we were? So this is just another way of getting ideas in front of a customer. And this is more of a self-service thing. And so one of the things that you guys will ask all the time, well, can a customer go in and do the editing? We don't want them to do the editing. If they do the editing, guess what? They can just screen capture it and take it to somebody else. We want to be interacting with that customer so that we have a kind of a back and forth conversation. We want to control the whole experience. And so what one of my customers put it best, he said, hey, listen, I used to do all this custom artwork for my clients. Drove me nuts. I just didn't have the capacity. My business partner was always kind of criticizing me because I'd spend so much time on art, especially in these small orders. We're probably losing money on them. He says, I just go in, I uploaded all my most popular designs that I produced. I'll go into GraphicsFlow, pick out some stock designs. And then what I'll do is get a showcase in front of a customer and I'll tell them, hey, listen, if you pick something from here, I can have something back to you, same day or next business day. We don't have any art charges for that. I'll work my magic and make it look awesome. But if you need me to do custom, then I have a minimum order. I have a 7 to 10 day turnaround. I have a minimum order quantity is higher, or I have to charge you art charges. And he says, customers will always pick, the stock option. And if they don't, he says, I just send them to my art portal because and I've got all these galleries over here. So if I want to send them to my art portal and I want them to see some like really specific artwork, I can just set up a category in here. Look familiar? So you can link these galleries right into your portal. So this is just a great way to interact with your customer. And honestly, you're operating at a level with a graphics capability of an elite big company. These companies that have dozens of artists, these big brand companies that we're all kind of used to seeing in the marketplace. Some of these companies don't even have a capability that's this sophisticated. So that's how we would run a prospecting campaign. So I would link this link into a prospecting email. I'd make a phone call. If I can't get a hold of the buyer, I would leave a message kind of prompting them to look at the link. And again, it's fishing. You start getting these out and next thing you know, you're getting a few nibbles and you're signing up new clients and wow, that's the way it should work. And it's interesting. I was talking to one of my customers and what he does is for back to school, he gets ideas in front of all of his buyers like ahead of time so he can accelerate the sales process so they're not waiting till the last minute to get the artwork done. Because nothing moves forward with the back to school orders until the artwork is finalized. And so he'll include last year's artwork in the little showcase, a couple fresh ideas, and then just some generic designs they could pick from. And he just gets the artwork nailed down. It freezes out his competition. You can do the same thing with your corporate customers. If you want to get some, corporate ideas in front of a client, here's a pretty good example of what we talk about, that lifestyle branding where you create artwork files that are connected to corporate, but aren't just their logo. That's the same general idea right here. These are just templates from GraphicsFlow that I just customized for Premier welding services. Pretty cool, huh? So that's another way of doing it. And then, next level is when you start going into e-commerce. And if you don't have an e-commerce capability right now, I'm kind of here to tell you that's how majority of consumers prefer to shop. And an e-commerce capability isn't, hey, I've got a homepage and I've got a bunch of cool stuff on there people go buy. An e-commerce capability is you're literally creating a store for your customer. Like, this is interesting. This is an Inksoft store that I set up with the Central Cougars. And this is what's called the customer's portal. And so the customer has a login and they can go into their store portal and they can see any quotes they have out. Like this one is waiting for approval on the artwork. So this is just done through Inksoft. So Inksoft is our sister company. So this is not part of GraphicsFlow. This is our sister company and their e-commerce capability. And so this is the customer's portal. So here's the quotes that are out. This one's waiting for the customer to sign off on the artwork. And so they can click on this and they can see the proposal and it's all branded to them. They can see the details on the artwork. They can click on approve. I don't want to approve this one because I'm using this for a video I'm recording, but they can click on approve and pay and they can check out and they can just pay you in advance instead of you waiting around to get all your money collected, which is pretty awesome. And then all of their past orders are here. So if they need to reorder, they can go in here and say, hey, I need to reorder this one, and just go in here and it'll prompt them to go in and it submits a little, this order hasn't been finalized, so they can still go in and edit sizes and quantities because this is actually a pending order that they placed through the online designer that they have access to. So this is where this one came from. So if it was a closed order that they are just reordering from, when they go over here, they can put in a little reorder request. And then me, as the person that's managing the store, I can either clone the original proposal, update the quantities, and send it over to them and process it like that, or I can create a new proposal. Maybe it's new artwork. And then they also have all their artwork stored in here too. So if they want to see their designs that they've been working on or uploads, this one right here, I kind of abandoned my shopping cart. I was editing this in the Inksoft Designer because the designer has the ability for the customer to come in and create some of their own files. So if they wanted to change the color combination here, they can do that on their own art. I really like that combination. I think I'll go back to the navy. So where did all this actually originate? Well, where it originated is a store. And so I had set up this little Cougar and I got to log out of my end user account. I'll log into my admin account. And so I just created this cool little store right here. It's super easy to create it. I added a whole bunch of products. I've got, all these different products that I've added into the store. I can add new products. I can upload my artwork. If I want to create a new product, I just say create a new product. I've got all my designs that I've already uploaded. So if I wanted that to be a, auto baseball cap, and let's see, we'll make that navy blue, get rid of the black. And I want to put this embroidery design on it. Oop, this one's a little better color scheme. Create the product and then add it to the store. It's literally that simple. And all this photography and all this product information and all the detail and all the pricing from the products is coming from a live product feed that's part of Inksoft. So it's connected to Augusta, and it's connected to Sanmar and Alpha and SNS and all these big vendors. And so once I created that store, I can just go over to the style editor here. And if I want to change my color scheme, or maybe I want to, edit this product, and let's edit this one and go over here and maybe change the product, and we'll get rid of this product, but let's add the water bottle in there. And there you go. Now you're going to have the water bottle in there. Hit save, and there's my web store. That's how it works. And even cooler than that, then you have proposals. So if I wanted to send a proposal off to the customer, I just create a proposal. That's what I was showing you in the end user portal. That's what this is. I can just create a proposal and it's basically a web page. That's just a place for the customer to see what their order looks like and to approve it and pay for it. So we're getting paid in advance. So these are all the kind of modern steps that people are using to grow their business now. But I'd like to thank you all for joining me today for the webcast, and I look forward to the next one in this series.